Imagine a time before romance, before even the concept of love existed, a world where survival ruled every choice, and the very first sparks of attraction were not about poetry or passion, but about survival, instinct, and the raw beginnings of human connection. What if I told you that the way we love today, the way we flirt, bond, and form relationships, can all be traced back to those primal moments when our ancestors first discovered the power of sex, intimacy, and unity? This is the untold story of how human sexuality shaped civilization itself. Before love ever had a name, before desire could be wrapped in poetry, sex was nothing more than nature's command. For our earliest human ancestors, attraction wasn't about beauty, charm, or choice. It was survival written into their very bones. The body itself was a messenger. The scent of pheromones, the heat of touch, the rhythm of hormones. These invisible signals pulled men and women toward each other, not to create romance, but to create life. Think about it. In a world filled with predators, storms, and famine, the survival of the tribe depended on reproduction. Each child born was not just a new life, but a shield against extinction. Every encounter was driven by instinct, biology pushing humans forward against impossible odds. Unlike today, where people seek compatibility, affection, or emotional spark, early humans had no such luxury. The instinct to mate was as natural as breathing, as urgent as hunger. It wasn't personal, it was species-wide. The choice wasn't between falling in love or staying single. The choice was survival or death. And yet, hidden in these primal unions lay the very first seeds of something more, something that would one day grow into connection, trust, and the beginnings of what we now call love. But instinct alone couldn't guarantee survival. Early humans lived in small, scattered groups where every life counted. If one hunter fell to a predator, if one mother couldn't protect her child, the entire tribe was at risk. That's where sexual behavior began to shift, not just as an act of reproduction, but as a strategy for building bonds. When a male and female came together, it wasn't always a fleeting encounter. Sometimes a partnership formed. A hunter might share food with the mother of his child, or defend her from danger. These simple acts weren't love as we understand it, but they were the foundation of commitment. Protecting a mate and offspring increased the odds of survival, and nature rewarded it. Over time, these partnerships began to influence the tribe's structure. Pairs who stayed together created more stability, and children raised within that safety grew stronger. Instinct was slowly being joined by cooperation, and cooperation created trust. Sex, then, wasn't just about passing on genes anymore. It was about creating alliances, cementing loyalty, and weaving the threads of a community. In those moments of survival, the first sparks of emotional connection began to flicker in the darkness of prehistory. As these bonds deepened, something remarkable began to happen. Sexual behavior became more than just instinct. It became a choice shaped by emotion. A hunter might not simply mate with whoever was available. He might seek the woman who had stood by him during a harsh winter, or the one who shared food when he was starving. Desire was slowly being guided by memory, gratitude, and recognition. This shift laid the foundation for what we now call intimacy. Imagine a fire burning at the center of a camp, hunters returning from danger, mothers nursing their children, and two people exchanging glances that spoke of more than survival. For the first time, sexual behavior was intertwined with trust and attachment. Of course, danger still surrounded them. Predators prowled beyond the firelight, and scarcity was a constant threat. But the very fact that humans began to connect through sex, forming attachments and alliances, gave them a unique advantage. Unlike the beasts that relied on brute strength, humans were beginning to rely on something invisible yet powerful: emotional bonds. It was here, in these earliest unions, that sex transformed from a raw instinct into the seed of love, setting humanity apart from every other creature. With the tribe becoming more secure, food a little easier to gather, and fires burning brighter through the night, humans had something they never had before: moments of pause. For the first time, survival wasn't their only concern. And in those rare pauses, desire began to grow into something richer than instinct. Early humans discovered that touch, closeness, and intimacy carried meaning beyond reproduction. The act of sex was no longer just about continuing the species. It became a way to express connection, to reassure, and even to negotiate trust. A gift of food might lead to shared warmth beneath animal hides. A display of strength could spark attraction. A moment of laughter could ignite desire. This shift changed everything. Unlike the animals that mated purely by season or cycle, humans started to choose. Choosing not only who they found attractive, but who they trusted, admired, or felt drawn to. Desire was no longer just about flesh. It was about feeling. From here, sex took on symbolic power. It was a language that spoke when words didn't exist yet. And with every new bond formed, humans were writing the first lines of a story that would someday be called love. As tribes grew, so did the complexity of relationships. Desire was no longer a fleeting impulse. It became part of social strategy. Who you shared yourself with could determine alliances, trust, and even survival. In this world, intimacy wasn't only private. It was political. Anthropologists believe that early humans used desire as a form of bonding glue. By sharing closeness, they reinforced unity in the group. A mother and father's bond strengthened the chances of their child surviving. A hunter offering his catch to a partner created trust. Even secret affairs might have carried unspoken agreements that kept tension from tearing a tribe apart. But this wasn't always peaceful. Desire also brought competition and jealousy. Two men might clash over the same woman. Two women might vie for the attention of the strongest hunter. These conflicts pushed humans to invent early forms of negotiation and reconciliation, perhaps the very roots of social rules. In this way, sex became more than survival or even pleasure. It shaped the first human communities, teaching them that intimacy carried both joy and risk. Every choice of partner whispered into the future, changing the balance of power within the tribe. As human groups grew larger, desire began to influence culture itself. The stories whispered around the fire, the early dances, and even cave art may have carried symbols of attraction, fertility, and longing. A carved figure with exaggerated features wasn't just art. It was a message, a reflection of how humans thought about desire and creation. For early humans, attraction was often tied to survival traits, strength, fertility, and the ability to provide. But slowly, desire also became tied to something else, connection. A glance across the fire, a gesture of protection, a shared laugh. These moments carried meaning beyond mere instinct. They revealed the beginning of emotional intimacy, the roots of what we might one day call love. But in this fragile balance of survival and intimacy, desire could still tip the scales dangerously. Betrayal, jealousy, and unspoken rivalries often simmered beneath the surface. These tensions may have forced tribes to create new unspoken rules, shaping the earliest foundations of human society. In the end, desire was both a unifier and a disruptor. It could spark conflict, but it could also hold people together against the relentless dangers of the prehistoric world. Somewhere along humanity's journey, desire transformed into something deeper. It was no longer just about survival, reproduction, or fleeting attraction. It became about bonding. The earliest signs of true love may have emerged when partners began staying together long after reproduction, choosing not just to mate, but to share life. Imagine a hunter returning from the forest not only to provide food for the tribe, but specifically for the one he cared for. Or a mother not just raising a child, but receiving help from a partner who chose to remain by her side, protecting both mother and infant. These moments hint at the beginning of commitment, of love as a stabilizing force. Love added a new dimension to survival. It meant cooperation wasn't limited to the group. It extended into a partnership that could endure seasons, migrations, and dangers. In a world filled with predators and uncertainty, love became a hidden strength, a force that gave humans an advantage no beast could match. This shift marked a turning point. Desire was still present, but it was now layered with loyalty, comfort, and meaning. For the first time, humans weren't just surviving together. They were choosing each other. As humans evolved, love began weaving itself into rituals, symbols, and traditions. Archaeological evidence suggests that even early humans exchanged gifts, decorated shells, carved bones, or beads made from rare stones. These weren't just tools. They were tokens of affection, offerings meant to show care and commitment. Think about that for a moment. In a world where every day was a fight for survival, someone took the time to craft beauty for another. That act alone shows how love elevated humans above mere instinct. It wasn't just about mating. It was about expressing connection in a way no predator or beast could. Love also introduced the idea of exclusivity and protection. Couples that bonded created stronger family units, increasing the survival chances of their children. Tribes with deeper pair bonds thrived more than those without, because trust and cooperation spread through the community. Storytelling also began to reflect this. Cave art and early myths hinted at themes of unity, fertility, and partnership. These weren't just survival lessons. They were reflections of the emotional lives humans were beginning to explore. In this sense, love wasn't a weakness. It was an evolutionary strategy, shaping humanity's future in ways still felt today. The dawn of love also gave rise to something even more profound, the birth of culture. Love songs, dances, and rituals likely emerged as ways to celebrate union and fertility. What began as a survival instinct transformed into the earliest expressions of art and meaning. Think about it. Without love, would humans have created poetry, music, or myth? Desire may have sparked connection, but love gave it depth, turning fleeting attraction into something worth preserving, something worth fighting for. The need to bond emotionally created traditions that held tribes together, making them more resilient in the face of predators, hunger, and war. Over time, this foundation of emotional intimacy became humanity's greatest strength. Love inspired loyalty, sacrifice, and even bravery. It gave early humans a reason to stay, to protect, and to dream of a future. Unlike the solitary beasts around them, humans learned that to love was to survive, and to survive was to love. In this way, the dawn of love was more than just the beginning of romance. It was the seed from which civilizations would one day grow.